Take 27. I'm not joking. This is the 27th take. All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today, as you can see, I have the 325IS behind me. It has been an incredibly long journey with this car, and to say that I'm done would be wrong. It's not done, but I would argue that it's complete to the point where I can drive this. It does run on its own finally the way it should. You can see it's got a hood on it now. It does kind of look like a car at this moment. Even in the interior, I spent all day yesterday, assembling the interior, dyeing interior pieces, and it turned out really cool. I'm actually a pretty big fan of how this car has turned out so far, and there's tons more to do, but we are gonna talk about what actually ended up fixing this car. So if you're new here, welcome. I make mainly E36 stuff, mainly E36 M3 stuff, but in the last 6 months, I've took it upon myself to learn, I guess, how to engine and transmission swap a car. It was not easy. It took a lot of time. It was very stressful. It took a lot of money. And as this build starts to wrap up, I'll be making more of these myself talking to the camera videos, kind of just reflecting on the entire experience. That's not to say that we don't have a bunch of exciting things planned for this car, but as far as like the meat and potatoes of the build, like getting the whole drivetrain installed and operating functionally, that was kind of the biggest challenge. So you won't have so many technical stuck in the garage videos, hopefully from here on out. Let me grab what solved this, or what was bad. So lo and behold, this was the culprit the whole time. The 413 DME that was original to the car was actually the root of all of the issues with this car. Now, I cracked this thing open once more after I had installed my tune and looked it back over. Nothing visually looks burnt, broken, no circuits look burnt up, like it looks fine. But to get to this point and swap out DMEs was definitely a long trip, long journey, whatever you want to say. Like, it was a mission. I have been posting not only on YouTube with this car, but on Instagram. And I had essentially just posted something crying for help on Instagram, like, I need help solving this. I've done every diagnostic that I could possibly think of. Everything that makes sense has not fixed the problem. So I was kind of at my last resort. I reached out to people on Instagram. I think in one way this really did help me, and on the other end it definitely overwhelmed me. It kind of made me overthink the situation entirely. So if you're unfamiliar, long story short, what happened with this car was when I bought it, you would turn it over, it would run barely, it would fall on its face, sometimes it would stall and die. And up until operating temperature, it would do that. Now, once it got warm to operating temperature, it would still run, and it would still drive, and it would idle, it would hold its own idle, and it definitely ran. But now that this car runs the way it does, looking back, the car still barely ran. So to summarize my findings, after doing lots of research through forums and reaching out to people, I kind of started to understand open loop and closed loop, and I can go into this in its entirety in its own video, so I don't want to draw it out super long, but essentially the car seemed to be stuck in some kind of limp mode, and that's just seemingly what it was. I can't really be 100% sure that was what was happening, but after researching and looking over online, that seemed to be the issue. So I had tried everything to diagnose this car ever since I got it, and after doing the engine and transmission swap, it running the same, it just felt bad, man. It was super unmotivating to assemble a car, refresh everything, and then have it still run like absolute shit. So on one hand, it was like process of elimination. It definitely helped because I knew that I replaced all of these parts, and I smoke tested the car before and after the swap. Like, I made sure that my work was good and it was proper. So that definitely helped narrow things down. Unfortunately, I did do an entire drivetrain swap to get to this point, and I didn't have to. At the end of the day, it was the computer. So in the back of my head, the computer was always a sneaking suspicion, given that it is original to the car as well as the engine harness. After I had tried pretty much everything, those were the only two things that could possibly make sense. Either there's got to be some melted wires, some shorted wires in the harness, or the computer's bad. But then I thought about it even more. The car runs a little bit better when it's warm, so it's replicating the same problem as it had prior to the whole swap, it has to be a computer. It has to be something telling this car to run bad. Lo and behold, I borrowed a red label ECU from a friend, plugged it in, and the car runs beautifully. I do need to make a special shout out to Eric. He actually went out of his way to email me. I've never had somebody email me, so it kind of like took me back. He emailed me and told me exactly what had happened with his car. Ended up being the computer, and kind of described all the symptoms that this car had. Went ahead, got the computer and swapped it in, and that was kind of my motivation, my push to actually go ahead and try the computer. So thank you so much for your email. Stuff like that does help. So when people reach out and I know that there's effort going into that, like, it does help, I guess, motivate me to do things. So I will go into all of this in detail furthermore in like an entirely different video, but as of now, I just want to wash this car. I've had it for, I don't know, like, I've had this car for over 6 months and I've never washed it. As soon as I got it, it had this issue, and then I just began working on it. So I never really got a chance to wash it. So we are finally going to give this car its first wash. So now that this car is a little bit cleaner, we can actually go over it. I'll go ahead and give you guys another rundown. We did touch on the engine bay last video, so I won't actually even go into this time. If you'd like to see everything involved as far as this process, the whole swap and everything, you can check out the previous videos on this car. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and walk you guys through the 325IS interior. It has changed quite a bit since you saw it last. I'm gonna go ahead and also link the whole entire build series down below. So if this is the first video you've seen of mine and you're interested in this car, I have it all documented, everything pretty much in video series, so go check it out. Anyways, here we are walking into the interior here, and I'm really excited with how this turned out. So let's go ahead and do a quick rundown on what's actually OEM black and what's dyed. All right, so as you can see, we kind of have a two-tone going on here, and I'm really stoked about it. It actually looks pretty good in my opinion, and this trim dye that I used is insane. So I'll go ahead and link that down below as well. I believe it's something you can only order online because I wasn't able to find it at any of the local parts stores, but it is SEM trim dye. So this whole center console and the armrest section I dyed black. I even had an OEM black armrest section here, but it was for sedan, not coupe, so it didn't fit quite right in the rear, so I just took the OEM one and dyed it, and you literally cannot tell. There's really no distinction between the two unless you're looking at it in harsh sunlight. So I'm pretty excited. Like, even in the shade here, you can really hardly tell it's dyed. I think it looks awesome. So this piece down here, this piece here, this whole piece along with underneath here, that's all dyed. So I think it turned out really good. What's cool too is it dries super fast, so I was just dyeing the pieces as I was installing them, and they didn't smudge or rub off or anything. I think it turned out fucking awesome. Now you can see we have the tan carpet here, as well as, you know, the tan door cards, the tan seats front and rear, and then we still don't have a headliner. I will likely do another headliner in this car like I did in the M3. I'll probably do black Alcantara. So I'll probably do that, and I'll probably do some dye for the actual like trim accented pieces, but it is at pretty much the bottom of my list as far as priorities go. So I'm pretty content with the interior as it sits. So I'm normally pretty picky about interiors, but I do have to remind myself that I took this whole car apart like it was to a shell at some point. So I am pretty proud of myself. I gotta give myself a break on that because I'm a little too picky when it comes to interiors, and some of this stuff really bothers me. But overall, I think it looks really good. We'll do the headliner and the A pillars, C pillars, whatever. We'll do that later. I'm not super concerned about it now. I do want to clean this up as soon as possible. You can see I actually have too many switches here. I accidentally threw away the top portion, this piece here, away with the old center console, and I just forgot to take it off. And wasn't thinking, threw it away, and the only extra ones I have laying around are for sedans and convertibles. I don't have any extra coupe ones, so I will have to get one that only has the 2 switches for coupe instead of having 4 plus a blank switch. So yeah, that's a little funky. I'll make a little plate or something, and we'll do like a shift surround plate, wrap it in Alcantara, make it look nice. I do need to get another OBC. The like lights, the pixels are burnt out on this right side, so you can kind of see it. It's like almost legible, but I'd rather just have a nice new one. As you can see, I filled up these blank switches with just blanks, so no more holes. Got the alarm system. I'll have to get a fob so we can sync that up and hopefully have a keyless system in this car, as well as we'll keep the seat heaters until further notice. But I did the radio, wired that all up. I know we talked about that last time, but I did kind of clean up how everything was routed, so I do have a direct USB plug-in for that. Pretty sweet. As well as I did route the microphone back here. Wasn't my first choice for placement, but honestly, it can move at any time. I just figured having the microphone here kind of out of the way, I don't really want it to be seen, so I think that was probably the best choice for that. We'll be getting a different wheel at some point. This car will be getting the entire Magma swap, or at least I hope it will. So I know I've talked about doing that swap for a while, and I still want to do it, but I'm kind of considering if it's even worth it in this car. I really don't mind the two-tone, the black with the tan, and I can always dye the carpet, get black door cards for this car, and it wouldn't be that bad. So I'm still debating whether or not I want to do that, or if I just sell the Magma interior and make some money. That way we can focus on some more important things. As much as I would like to put a Magma interior in this car, the carpet swap is a total bitch. I know I just had everything torn apart and that would have been the time to do it, but believe me, I just wanted to get things assembled and presentable enough so I can drive this car and I can just have it look okay instead of getting right into a whole interior swap. I'm sure you guys understand, but that's kind of where my head's at with that. So with that all being said, I'm gonna go ahead and close out the video here. As far as upgrades next, I would like to talk about that very briefly. I do want to get this car low. I don't know how low we're gonna go with it. I don't know if we'll go as low as the M3. We probably will, because I care about this car less, so I wouldn't mind just putting it on the ground. I do have wheels in mind. I actually have them in my storage, so I will put wheels on this car very soon. Just have to get tires, and I didn't really want to put wheels on the car until I got suspension. So we'll work on getting coilovers, wheels. It's gonna look pretty cool, I would say. The biggest thing is, hopefully next video we'll be driving this car, because I have yet to be able to actually drive it, just forward and back in the driveway, because I don't have the power steering lines. So this car's been ready for essentially a week. I just haven't had the power steering show up yet, so I'm a little bummed about that, and I don't know if you can tell that I'm super anxious about it, but I've been doing basically everything else that I can to get this car ready, so that when the power steering is here, we can just drive the car. With that all being said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Liking, subscribing, sharing, anything you do does help grow this channel, so I really do appreciate it. But I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching. Peace.